Picture a single machine doing the work of 40 men with scythes, cutting, threshing, and cleaning grain in one unstoppable pass. Between 1960 and 1989, a handful of engineers in Illinois, Germany, and Pennsylvania quietly rewrote how the world feeds itself. Some of these combines were so far ahead of their time that the very same design still rolls through fields today. These are 10 of the most brilliant combine harvesters ever built, and the stories behind them will genuinely surprise you. Number 10. John Deere 95 and 105. Let's start in the early 1960s, when big still meant something modest. John Deere's 95 and its monster sibling, the 105, were the giants of their day, and the 105 was deliberately engineered to be the largest combine in the world. To get there, Deere fitted it with a threshing cylinder a full 50 inches wide, edging out International Harvester's 181 and its 46 3/8-inch cylinder. That extra width meant more crop could be threshed at once, and in the wheat country of the Great Plains, that translated directly into acres covered before sundown. Power came from a 248 cubic inch gasoline engine built at Deere's Dubuque, Iowa works, and the machine could swallow grain platforms up to 22 feet wide. For 1964, that was an enormous bite. Farmers who had been running pull-type combines behind a tractor suddenly had a self-propelled machine that turned harvest from a multi-day ordeal into something far more manageable. What makes the 95 and 105 brilliant isn't raw horsepower. By today's standards, they're tiny. It's that they defined the template. Deere proved that farmers would keep buying bigger and bigger machines as their acreage grew, and that capacity, not just price, was what sold combines. The 105 was reserved for only the largest operations, the kind farming a section or more of grain, but it pointed the whole industry toward a future of ever-increasing size. Every flagship combine that followed owes a debt to this big green pioneer. It was the machine that started the horsepower race, and it set the stage for everything else on this list. Number 9. Claas Senator. Cross the Atlantic to Haaswinkel, Germany, and you'll find the company that dominated European harvesting, Claas. By the mid-1960s, Claas was already the continent's leading combine maker. But in 1966, it did something bold. It changed the color of its machines to the green that's still iconic today and rolled out a completely redesigned generation of combines, led by the Senator. The Senator, launched in its new form in 1967, wasn't just a fresh coat of paint. Claas built it around a genuinely new construction and claimed a world first. It was the first combine maker to offer machines with an engaged, connecting power drive system that smoothed how engine power reached the threshing mechanism. Alongside the Senator came stablemates like the Mercator from 1969, and smaller models such as the Consul, Comet, and Cosmos, giving farmers of every size a Claas to suit their fields. This was also the era when Claas started paying serious attention to design and operator safety concepts that combine makers had largely ignored when a harvester was just a noisy steel box on wheels. The Senator generation pushed Claas past a remarkable milestone. By 1968, the company had built 200,000 combines at Haaswinkel, and the 200,000th machine, a Senator, was shipped to the United Kingdom, where it reportedly kept working into 2017. Think about that. A 1968 combine still earning its keep nearly 50 years later. That's the kind of durability that built Claas's reputation across Europe and beyond. And it's exactly why the Senator earns its place here. Number 8. Massey Ferguson 760. In 1972, Massey Ferguson did something that would define custom harvesting for a generation. It launched the 760, the first true super combine, and for years one of the largest machines anyone could buy. For the custom cutters who followed the ripening wheat north from Texas to the Canadian border each summer, the 760 quickly became the machine of choice. The numbers tell the story. In Europe, the 760 ran grain tables up to 24 feet. That's 7.3 meters wide. And by the late 1970s, an MF760 had set the benchmark for harvesting 100 acres in a single day's work. For the time, that was a staggering output, the kind of figure that let one machine and one operator replace a whole crew of smaller combines. Massey Ferguson carried a genuine harvesting pedigree into the 760. This was the company descended from Massey Harris, which back in 1938 had built the world's first commercially viable self-propelled combine, the number 20, developed under Australian-born engineer Tom Carroll. The 760 was that heritage scaled up for the modern era. When it was eventually superseded in the early 1980s by the MF860, engine output had climbed to a then massive 184 horsepower from a Perkins Vive 8, proof of just how fast the capacity race was accelerating. And in 1984, Massey introduced the clever cascade separator on the 850 and 860, which caught grain that would otherwise have spilled to the ground and returned it to the machine, boosting capacity by around 10%. The 760 started that big combine bloodline, and that's why it's brilliant. Number 7. Gleaner. Now for one of the most quietly innovative combines ever built, and one with a genuinely surprising backstory. The Gleaner brand dates all the way to 1923, when the Baldwin brothers of Nickerson, Kansas, built a high-quality self-propelled harvester and named it after the Gleaners, an 1857 painting by Jean-François Millet, depicting peasants collecting leftover grain. Alice Chalmers bought Gleaner in 1955, and for years Gleaner's profits made up nearly all of Alice Chalmers' profit. In 1972, Gleaner introduced the Model L, and it was packed with ideas that the rest of the industry wouldn't copy for nearly 2 decades. The L was the first combine in the world to use electro-hydraulic controls, letting the operator adjust the machine electrically rather than wrestling with mechanical linkages. That was roughly 20 years ahead of the competition. The L was also among the world's largest combines when it debuted, with a 48-inch cylinder whose clever design gave it the capacity of rivals running cylinders 4 to 12 inches wider. Gleaner machines had another trick competitors envied, the rock door. If a Gleaner swallowed a stone, the rock door simply popped open and dropped it on the ground. No damage to the cylinder, no operator climbing inside a clogged machine to dig out a rock trap by hand. The L wasn't perfect. Early examples from 1972 to 1974 suffered from corporate cost-cutting and lighter-gauge steel that hurt their reputation. But by 1975 and 1976, the Model L had matured into a genuinely excellent combine, and its silver bodywork and forward-mounted threshing remained instantly recognizable in the Midwest for decades. For sheer engineering boldness, the Gleaner L deserves its spot. Number 6. Claas Dominator 80 and 100. Back to Germany for what became Europe's best-selling combine for years on end. The story starts on December 6, 1969, when Claas gave the green light to develop a completely new generation of harvester. The development was so fast, using a then novel simultaneous engineering approach, where design and production happened almost at once, that a pilot run of 100 machines was harvesting by the summer of 1970. The name made the ambition clear: Dominator. Claas officially launched the Dominator 80, a 5-straw walker machine in 1971, followed by the larger 6-walker Dominator 100 a year later. The 80 used a threshing drum 1.32 meters wide. The 100 stretched that to 1.58 meters, unlocking new levels of productivity. The Dominator 80 was driven by a 105 horsepower 6-cylinder diesel, mounted in an unusual spot directly behind the cab, with the grain tank behind the engine. That layout kept the engine close to the threshing drum, the component hungriest for power, minimizing losses. But the real genius of the Dominator was hidden in the factory. Claas completely transformed its manufacturing by switching to a modular construction approach, where individual assemblies could be shared across different models of different widths. The result was lower costs, smaller inventories, and a family of combines that could be tailored to almost any farm. That modular thinking is standard across the industry now, but Claas pioneered it here. The Dominator series held its position in the market for an unusually long time, eventually selling around 100,000 units, the single biggest selling line in Claas history. From a quiet boardroom decision in late 1969 came the combine that ruled European fields. That's brilliance you can measure in sales figures. Number 5. John Deere 8820 Titan. For the 1979 model year, John Deere replaced its hugely successful new generation combines with the Titan series, the 6620, 7720, and the flagship of them all, the colossal 8820. If the 105 from the start of our list was the biggest combine of the early 1960s, the 8820 was the undisputed king of the conventional straw walker combine at the end of the 1970s. Under the hood sat a turbocharged and intercooled 466 cubic inch diesel, producing 200 horsepower, and in a 1981 update, an improved injection pump pushed that to 225. The threshing cylinder was a vast 65.5 inches wide, fully 10.5 inches more than the 7720 beneath it. 6 straw walkers, each lengthened to 150 inches, gave the grain extra time to shake free, for a total separating area of nearly 9,900 square inches. Fully loaded, the 8820 tipped the scales at more than 18 tons. The Titan was loaded with thoughtful features. It was the first Deere combine to get the sound guard cab, mounted on 6 rubber isolators with an inch of air gap between the cab and the engine firewall, and foam line to kill noise. Inside, a digital tachometer could cycle through engine speed, ground speed, header shaft RPM, and fan speed, while warning lights and a loud buzzer flagged any part that slowed below working range. A feeder house reverser let the operator power out plugs instead of digging them out by hand, and planetary final drives, dual front wheels, and optional rear-wheel drive helped this giant claw through soft, wet ground. In 1981, the 8820 even gained the power to run Deere's 12-row corn head, the first in the industry. The 8820 was the high watermark of an entire design philosophy and a legend among grain farmers. Number 4. John Deere 6600 and 7700 New Generation. We have to circle back to 1970, because that year John Deere released a combine so well judged that it became one of the most beloved machines in American agriculture. The New Generation line, the 3300, 4400, 6600, and 7700, introduced the patented quick-attach header mounting system, which let farmers swap between grain platforms and corn heads quickly when moving from crop to crop. That flexibility was a genuine leap forward. The 7700 arrived with 25% more capacity than anything Deere had offered before, but it was the slightly smaller 6600 that became the runaway hit, the perfect size for the farmer working roughly a section of ground, and the best-selling combine of the entire New Generation lineup. It ran a Dubuque-built 303 cubic inch gasoline or 329 cubic inch diesel engine producing 104 horsepower with a 44-inch separator. For 1973, the 7700 could be ordered with a turbocharged 404 engine for even more muscle. What made these machines so clever was a redesigned grain handling system. Deere used 5 separate auger conveyors, each walled off from the next so grain couldn't slosh from side to side, keeping the flow to the cleaning shoe perfectly even, no matter how the combine pitched or rolled on a hillside. Deere claimed the 6600 could actually out-harvest the larger old one 05 and backed it with a side-by-side barley test in California where the 6600 brought in 2.7% more crop. Farmers fell in love. Decades later, you'll still find 6600s and 7700s working small farms and starring at vintage shows, remembered fondly and sometimes cursed for plugging up by the people who grew up running them. Pure, dependable, brilliant engineering for the everyday farmer. Number 3. Gleaner N6. In 1979, Gleaner did something radical and unmistakably its own. While the rest of the industry was experimenting with rotors mounted lengthwise down the machine, Gleaner released its first rotary combine, the N6, built around a transverse rotor mounted sideways across the body of the combine. It was a design unlike anything else on the market. The N6 was quickly joined by the smaller N5 and the larger N7, and that N7 became the largest combine of its time, capable of running grain and row crop headers as wide as 30 feet. The sideways rotor gave the Gleaner a famously compact, low-profile shape, and the gentle, high-capacity threshing it provided made the N-Series silver seeders a favorite among farmers who valued grain quality and throughput. Gleaner had form when it came to firsts. The same year it launched the N6 rotor, it also became the first manufacturer in the industry to offer a 12-row corn head. Going further back, Gleaner had pioneered the auger that replaced canvas drapers, the rasp bar threshing cylinder, and a down-front cylinder design that put threshing closer to the crop. The transverse rotor concept introduced with the N6 proved so sound that through ownership changes from Allis-Chalmers to Deutz Allis to AGCO, it never left production. The current Gleaner combines you can buy today still use that same sideways rotor principle first sold in 1979. Very few machines on this list can claim a design idea that survived, essentially intact for over 4 decades. The N6 was a bold bet that paid off, and it's why Gleaner sits this high.
Number 2. New Holland TR70.
Now we reach the machine that shocked the entire industry. For more than a century, combines had all worked the same fundamental way. A drum and straw walkers, threshing grain by rubbing it against rasp bars and then shaking the straw out the back. Then, in 1975, Sperry New Holland tore up the rulebook and launched the TR70, the world's first successful rotary combine, and the first New Holland combine ever built in the USA. The TR stood for twin rotor, and that was the breakthrough. Instead of a drum and walkers, the TR70 used 2 counter-rotating rotors, each just 17 inches across, that flung the crop through the machine using centrifugal force. New Holland had been chasing this idea for years, adapting a Belgian Claas 985 walker machine into a test mule that was running in maize by 1968 and wheat by 1969. The payoff was dramatic. Where a conventional combine took around 9 seconds to move crop through, the TR70 did it in about 3, and because grain was ejected by centrifugal force rather than gravity, there was far less grain damage and far less loss out the back. The production TR70 carried a 145 horsepower Ford gas engine with an optional 166 to 168 horsepower Caterpillar diesel, a grain tank rated up to 190 bushels with extensions, and an enclosed auger that unloaded at 1.5 bushels per second at any angle. Its proud sales slogan said it all. Painted right on the back was "Look, no straw walkers." The TR70 ran until 1978, replaced by the upgraded TR75 and joined by the bigger TR85, and that twin-rotor DNA never died. Half a century later, New Holland's latest CR combines still use twin rotors, with more than 70,000 twin-rotor machines built to date. The TR70 didn't just improve the combine, it reinvented it. Number 1. International Harvester Axial-Flow 1440 and 1460. And here it is, arguably the most influential combine of the entire era and one of the most important farm machines ever built. In the fall of 1977, after more than 2 decades of development and over 1 million man-hours of engineering, International Harvester launched the Axial-Flow combines, the 1440 and the 1460. It quite literally bet the farm, putting 300 prototypes into fields across the United States and Canada in 1977 before full production began in 1978. The genius was a single longitudinal rotor that handled both threshing and separation, replacing the entire drum and straw walker system that had defined combines for 100 years. This was the first single rotor design ever mass-produced, and IH's patent on it gave the company a powerful edge over John Deere, Massey Ferguson, New Holland, and everyone else. The result was a huge jump in capacity, gentler handling, cleaner grain, and far fewer moving parts to break. The original lineup was impressive. The 1440 packed a 135 horsepower, 436 cubic inch IH diesel, a 145 bushel grain tank, and a 24-inch rotor. The 1460 stepped up to 170 turbocharged horsepower. In 1978 came the bigger 1480 with a larger rotor and 190 horsepower plus specialty models. The Hillside 1470 and the Pull-type 1482 and the 1420 followed in 1980. The cab was a revelation too, at 58 inches wide, a full 18 inches roomier than any competitor, with options that even included an 8-track player. When the Axial-Flow made its European debut at the SEMA show in 1979, judges awarded it a gold medal for technical achievement. But here's the truly remarkable part. That basic Axial-Flow concept from 1977 proved so right that it has carried on through 9 generations of upgrades, surviving the 1985 merger of IH and Case, and it remains the foundation of Case IH's Axial-Flow combines built today. A machine designed nearly 50 years ago still defines how a global combine brand harvests grain. That is what brilliance looks like, and it's why the Axial-Flow is number 1. From the green giants of the 1960s to the rotary revolution of the late 70s, These 10 machines didn't just bring in the harvest, they shaped the farms we have today. Which one would you most love to see running in a field again? Let me know down in the comments.